Okay, you beautiful fitness people, let's start putting your energy systems, your fiber types, and your client goals all together now. So if you've had a look through all of your anatomy and physiology, through the first 5 chapters in your level 2 gym instructor manual, let's start putting that together in real life to see what it looks like. So remember, we've got 3 muscle fiber types. We've got type 1, type 2A, and type 2B. If we can link that into type 1, we'll be using the aerobic energy system. Type 2A will be using the lactate energy system, and type 2B will be using the creatine phosphate energy system. So your client will probably come to you with 3 goals. They want to lose weight, they want to tone up, they want to get stronger, or they want to increase muscle size. So if we look here, endurance will be fat loss and tone up. Hypertrophy will be increasing muscle size, and strength will make you stronger. So when we're using the endurance system, we'll be using the aerobic energy system based around type 1 muscle fiber. If we want to increase muscle mass, we'll be using a lactate energy system predominantly, and we'll be using type 2A muscle fiber. If we want to get stronger, we'll be in the creatine phosphate energy system and predominantly using type 2B muscle fiber. Now, if we look here, we have motor units. So each of these little boxes will symbolize the motor units, and the little long sticks will be the muscle fiber within that motor unit. So for example, if I want to use a light weight of 5 kilograms, I don't need all of these motor units. So if I only use 2 motor units, all of these muscle fibers will contract to create movement. Now, if I'm using only a small amount of motor units, I could be using the aerobic energy system. Remember, aerobic is 12 plus repetitions between 2 and 3 sets and equal to or below 67% 1 rep max and 30 seconds rest. Now, if I want to lift a heavier weight, I need to recruit more muscle fiber. So I recruit more motor units, but all of the muscle fibers within that motor unit will contract. So if we're looking at lactate hypertrophy type 2A, remember it's between 6 and 12 repetitions. It's between 3 and 6 sets. The resistance is between 67 and 85% of the client's 1 rep max. And we're going to rest for 90 seconds. Then if I want to increase the weight, I'm going to change into the creatine phosphate, the type 2B energy or muscle fiber, and we're looking at strength. So I need to recruit more motor units and more muscle fiber within the motor units. They will all contract to create a movement. So remember, for strength, it's between 1 to 6 sets, between 2 and 6, between 1 to 6 reps, between 2 and 6 sets, and it's equal to or above 85% of your client's 1 rep max, and the rest time will be between 2 and 5 minutes. So remember the all or nothing principle. Your muscle will either contract or it will relax. We're looking at the motor units within the muscle. So all of these muscle fibers will contract to create that movement. Okay guys, moving on now to the roles that the muscles play in a movement at the joint. So if you can remember back to one of your mini tutorials, we know that they can be the agonist, the antagonist, the synergist, or the fixator. So I just want to give you a visual representation of that. So the agonist, so for example, if I want to create elbow flexion at the elbow joint, what muscle is the agonist? What is the prime mover in this action? So we can see what muscle is getting smaller when I do flexion of the elbow joint. You're probably saying the bicep, and which you would be absolutely correct. So it's the main muscle that creates that movement. Next, we're going to look at the antagonist. So now if the agonist is the bicep and the bicep is the prime mover, it's getting smaller. What muscle is getting longer to allow the elbow to flex? So if you're now shouting the triceps, which would be the antagonist, you'd be absolutely correct. Now, we're looking at the synergist. So this is why I keep telling you, you need to know your muscles. So the synergist is a muscle that's going to help another muscle, the agonist, create that movement. So bicep meaning two. So bicep, there are two muscles within that bicep. So the agonist would be the bicep brachii. The antagonist is the tricep muscle group, and the synergist would be the muscle helping the bicep brachii, which would be the bicep brachialis. So it's a muscle that helps another muscle create the movement. Lastly, we have the fixator muscle. What muscle is giving joint stability on elbow flexion? Look at the big muscle in your shoulder. It would be your anterior deltoid. Given that stability in the shoulder, the glenohumeral joint on elbow flexion. So again, the agonist will be the bicep brachii. The antagonist is the tricep muscle group. The synergist will be the bicep brachialis. And the fixator is the deltoid muscles. Now, let's have a little look at knee flexion. So if you want to create flexion of the knee joint, so if you all now just flex your knee, what muscles are getting smaller to allow knee flexion of the knee joint? You're probably saying now, well, the back of my legs, the muscle is getting smaller. The leg muscles in the back of your leg are called the hamstrings. So the hamstring. So what muscle would then be the antagonist? What muscle needs to get longer in order for the hamstrings to contract? That would be the big muscles in the front of your leg called the quadriceps. So the quadriceps on knee flexion are the antagonist. So we now have the agonist, the hamstrings, the antagonist, the quadriceps. Now let's have a look at the synergist. Now when we're looking at the synergist, you need to understand your hamstrings. There are three muscles that make up your hamstring group. Your bicep femoris, your semimembranous, and your semitendinous. Now, we look now, what is the main muscle creating knee flexion? It's going to be the bicep femoris. The antagonist is still going to be the quadricep muscle group, and the synergists in this case are going to be semimembranous and semitendinous. Now we look now at what muscles are giving joint stability. So what muscles do we have in our bottoms? We've got the gluteus maximus, which will be the fixator muscle, giving joint stability in this instance. Now flick it round. We're doing a leg extension in the gym. We're on the leg extension machine. What muscles now are the agonist? Have a little think. If you're screaming at me, Will, it is the quadriceps. You'll be absolutely correct. So the quadriceps in this case for knee extension would be the agonist. The antagonist are going to be the opposite muscles to the quadriceps. In this case, it will be the hamstring muscle group. The synergists are the muscles that are going to assist in this movement, the leg extension. So again, this is why it's important for you to know your muscles within inside muscle groups. So quadriceps, meaning four. There are four muscles in the quadriceps. The rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and vastus intermedialis. You need to know vastus basti, because if you're doing active IQ in your level 2 written exam, there may be a question about what muscles make up the vasti muscle group. That would be the vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and the vastus intermedialis. So, synergists, the agonist would be the rectus femoris. The antagonist are still the hamstring muscle group. The synergist will be the vasti muscle group, vastus medialis, vastus intermedialis, and vastus lateralis. The fixator in this instance for leg extension would be the hip flexors. Hip flexors. So I hope this now helps you with the roles in your muscles. The agonist, the main muscle creating the movement. The agonist, what muscle is opposite. The synergists, what muscles are helping. And the fixator, what muscles are giving joint stability. Now let's look at the types of muscle contraction. We have isometric contraction, isotonic contraction, concentric and eccentric contractions of the muscle. So again, let's look at elbow flexion. If I want to create elbow flexion, we now know the agonist is the bicep brachii, the antagonist to the tricep muscle group, the synergist is the bicep brachialis, and the fixator is the deltoid. So I now want to create movement at the elbow joint. If my joint is moving up and down and there's movement, there is contraction followed by a relaxation of the muscle, it is an isotonic contraction. If I want to flex my elbow joint and keep the joint at the same level, the muscle is contracted and is not changing length, that would be an isometric contraction. And now concentric is the upward phase of elbow flexion where the muscle is contracting and getting shorter. And then eccentric is the downward phase of elbow flexion where the muscle is still under tension. It is still contracted as it gets longer. So isometric, up, hold the joint at the same angle where there's no movement within the muscle. Isotonic, there is movement within the muscle. Concentric is the upward phase of the joint action, and eccentric is the downward phase of the joint action where the muscle is under tension. It's contracting as it gets longer. So I hope this helps with muscle fiber types. I hope it helps with how it all fits into the energy systems and the client goal, whether it's endurance, hypertrophy, and strength. I hope you now have a better understanding of why we need to understand individual muscles within the muscle group in terms of the joint actions, and now your 4 separate muscle contractions. As always, please leave me a comment if there's something you're unsure about, and subscribe. Thank you very much for your time.